So anyone who was watching my videos from last year will have seen all the windswept ones where you can't hear a thing I'm saying. And this year I'm trying out something that might help with that, which is one of these DJIs with a windjammer on it. Let's see. So in fact, in the video, you're already listening to the sound of that DJI mic working very well. The video itself is being shot from the GoPro mounted on my handlebars. Here's a shot from Scotland showing you how that works. And now, as a demonstration of how bad the sound is when I use the GoPro sound, I'm going to show you the next sequence. And in this sequence, I'm using the GoPro, not the DJI, to pick up the sound. Thank you. Yes, I'm glad I didn't go up the mountains, which is what I was thinking. And the same clip again, but this time I'm going to take the sound from the DJI mic. Yes, I'm glad I didn't go up the mountains, which is what I was thinking. I'm out on a fantastically windy early February weekend. It's Imbolc in Ireland. Often a day that's extremely windy, and the legend is that the Cailleach, the old woman, goes out to gather firewood every Imbolc, and if the weather is terrible and she can't gather very much, well, that's good news, because that means she doesn't have much wood left, so the winter will be short. On the other hand, if the weather's good, she gathers a lot, and then perhaps the winter will be long. So as things stand, we're heading for a short winter, I think. But today I'm out to test a new microphone setup. If you watched my videos from last year, you'll be aware there's an awful lot where I'm in exposed places and there's very strong wind and you can't really make out what I'm saying. And so I'm cycling down into Johnagh Roads after a very windy cycle. So this year I'm testing out this new DJI mic. You can see it here with the dead cat, as it's called, screwed to the top of it, and that should greatly reduce wind noise and hopefully give us much better audio quality. As you can see, it's tiny. Now it comes in a case with a second mic and a receiver that you plug into, say, a phone. So let's look at that DJI setup in more detail. This is the box it comes in, which I have already unpacked. So the coolest single feature is the carrying case. Clicks up and down in a very satisfying way. And in it, there are three elements. This is the receiver. So you would plug this into, say, your phone or any other device that will take either a USB or a lightning port, or there's also a standard 3.5mm audio cable, and that then receives the transmissions from the microphones. So the important thing about the receiver is it has no memory in it, because I've seen from forums people sometimes make this mistake. The audio is going to be saved onto the device. So if your iPhone has the audio track on the video, for instance, which is one way I'd be using it. And then the next two things we have are the mics. So each of those goes onto the lapel. They have a range that's claimed to be something like 200 meters. It's something enormous. I don't know why you'd want to do it at that distance, maybe drone footage or something. And then they transmit to the receiver, and you can see the sound levels turning up on the receiver there. So if you've got that plugged into your phone and you have the person way over there, you'll be able to see that they are indeed receiving them. And then also in the box is a USB cable. That's important, so I'll talk about why in a minute. That's the audio jack. And then these are what are called dead cats. There might be another industry name for them as well, but they're basically for dealing with wind. They screw on top of the microphones. So then it looks like this. And that, as we've seen in that test I did, pretty much removes all the wind noise. I'm actually really surprised at just how well that worked. Okay, So that is the whole setup. Now, cycle touring or bike packing, you generally want to carry as little as possible. So I was interested in whether or not I could just use a receiver. So in other words, not bring any of this stuff at all. It all gets packed away. And just travel with this and the dead cat rather. And the answer to that is yes. There's internal memory on this that holds, I'm not quite sure exactly how long, but the battery lasts for 15 hours, so it's probably a reasonable guess that it will hold a similar sort of level of hours of audio. So then you can just activate this by pushing the record button, it comes on, push it again, it goes off. Very simple, writes a WAV file onto this internal audio. And then later on, when you get back, you're going to sync that up with your video. It doesn't transmit by Bluetooth, say, to a phone. So the disadvantage of not bringing the transmitter is you can't simply plug it into your phone, for instance, and have audio that's perfectly synced to the video. You're going to have a separate audio file all by itself. The other key thing I tested was, can you recharge it with the USB-C cable? And the answer to that is yes, you can. So because obviously cycle touring for a month, 15 hours sounds like a lot, but it would only be half an hour a day. So I would want to be able to recharge it. Yes, so that can be done as well. And then I said the cable was important. So this is the last thing in my testing that I discovered, is that not all USB cables see this as a hard drive when you plug it into the computer. The first one I tried, it just didn't at all. I spent about 10 minutes Googling things and trying to work out what was going on. And then I thought, oh, rather than using this random USB cable off my desk, I should use the one that came with it. Tried the one that came with it, and sure enough, it popped up immediately as a hard drive. Could then drag the sound file off, do all the things you would normally do. I then did a bit of testing, and I discovered of the 3 or 4 USB cables I had at home, I think 2 of them worked with it and 2 of them didn't. So although all USB-C cables kind of look the same, they're not. They're actually manufactured to different specs. And obviously whatever the spec requirement of this isn't necessarily the ones you're going to get with the cheapest USB-Cs, which are normally just for charging devices. So that's something to keep in mind. So then the final thing is, how do you sync the audio with your video? And the answer to that is to go way back to the early days of Hollywood, when they first had the sound guys, and they had a clapperboard. The purpose of the clapperboard was it made a distinct sound spike, so that afterwards you could line up that sound spike with the sight of the board being shut on the video. I'm not going to cycle around the clapperboard, but the really easy way of doing exactly the same thing is, because that gives you both the spike and the visual aspect. And here's a live demo of me putting in the spike on the bike. As you can see, here it is, very distinctive live. And in fact, generally the GoPro will be picking up the sound well enough, even in quite strong winds, that hand clap spike will be obvious. So all I do is I go into my video editing software. I use iMovie at the moment. I'm probably going to upgrade to FileMaker Pro, but I use iMovie because it's easy and it handles the iPhone new video formats. When I tried FileMaker Pro, it didn't, on the side. But all I do is I go in and I visually line up the video track with the spike, with the audio track with the spike. And you can do that to pretty much very close precision, and then you have an exact match, and you can just close down the audio track on the video. Or, as you'll have seen I've done in some of the video where I'm cycling around talking about all this, is I actually then dragged it up very slightly so there's some wind noise, because I think that adds a fair bit of atmosphere. But yeah, that's the whole trick, it's just the clap. I'm undecided as to exactly what I'll bring. I'd possibly bring the entire kit if I was thinking of interviewing people, for instance, on the road. And the receiver would be nice for some uses, particularly if I was going to use my phone, because then I wouldn't have to do anything but the audio lineup. I'm not going to be able to line up the audio when I'm cycling around. That's all going to have to wait till I come back and do a batch process. Now that's okay, because actually that's what I do with the GoPro anyway. It's like you can I edit short bits out and post them as I'm cycling. but long things, it's too cumbersome. I'm not traveling with the laptop, so that'll work. But overall, I think this is going to give me far better sound quality than what you heard last year, where I was in all those windy locations and it was really hard to make out what I said. And I have even more of that I never posted in the first place. Right, that's a block ship. The first thing they did was they took ships to block the channel. So there you go, DJI mic. This is actually the DJI mic 1. There's a new one has just come out. I had a quick look. I don't think the second one actually offers that much in the way of improvements that would make sense to upgrade. It basically, it reduces the clipping on very loud sounds. So if you're looking for very precise audio, it is better, but not enough, I think, for me to upgrade from one to the other. Hopefully, when I play this back, this is actually going to be quite intelligible. It's got what they call a dead cat on it, that fluffy thing. And the idea of those is that they suppress the sound of the wind. And today is an extremely windy day, as demonstrated by my hat flying over. Hey, so hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you have, then give it a thumbs up. That'll help me get out to more people. I've now got about 100 videos on the channel, so have a look through the catalogue of videos I have. There's about 70 that are day-to-day breakdowns. The others are about equipment, wild camping and related aspects of cycle touring, reviews of bikes, that sort of thing. If all that sounds of interest to you, then be sure to give the channel a follow and you'll get my future e-bike touring adventures. I have big plans for this summer and I intend to continue this for many years. So thanks.